Yeah, two guardsmen in critical condition tonight. Let's get some insight into the role of the National Guard troops in a deployment such as the one in Washington, D.C. We'll also talk Russia and Ukraine. Fox News senior strategic analyst, retired General Jack Keane, joins us now. General, thanks for being here. Your thoughts on this, obviously a tragic situation on the streets of D.C. and the role that National Guard plays in this situation.
Yeah, certainly. Well, I think anybody that's been in D.C. recently knows that the presence of the National Guard has been completely visible. They're four-man units, men and women, walking the streets day and night. And what they're not in the business of fighting crime like policemen are, but they're in the business of preventing crime. So their presence on the street has done just that. And anybody here can attest to it who's lived here any length of time or has visited in D.C. any length of time. And it baffles me why other cities and mayors wouldn't welcome this kind of presence to assist them in fighting crime, given the epic amount of crime we have in this country today. This is a wonderful example of what can be done, and testimony, to the sacrifice and service that these dedicated professionals will make to protect the citizens of America. And certainly a tragic what happened here tonight, and hopefully they're able to survive this. We know one thing's for sure: all of their comrades are going to go on, step by step, hour by hour, day by day, until the mission is complete.
Yeah, in fact, they're increasing the numbers there on the ground. Let's talk numbers. A 28-point plan it started as. The Russia-Ukraine plan, now it's evolved. There is some optimism. Here's President Trump answering a question about this on Tuesday.
Wickoff is going to Russia next week. Does that mean that Thanksgiving deadline doesn't stand anymore for Ukraine to agree?
We're going to see what happens. They set up a date, and the date is going to be sometime in the very near future.
Do you have a new deadline for a deal?
No, I don't have a deadline. You know what the deadline for me is? When it's over. And I think everybody's tired of fighting at this moment. They're losing too many people.
Asked about the Steve Witkoff going to Moscow next week and what the deadline would be. Where do you see this negotiation? You obviously talked to some players on the inside on where both things are, where both countries are, and where the sticking points may be.
Yeah, certainly. Well, first of all, I give President Trump a lot of credit for starting this. After the Alaska summit, how disappointing that was. Putin made promises, didn't keep any of them. In a sense, he managed to blow it up, so to speak. And then they had the success in Israel with the stopping the war with Gaza, and obviously the hostage release and the 22-point plan. And I think that encouraged them to try again, and I give them credit for going after it. The first step, certainly, with a plan that favored Russia at the expense of Ukraine, has been largely fixed. And most of those disturbing things that were in there are no longer in there. And Secretary Rubio and Witkoff and the team had a lot to do with that in Geneva, meeting with the Ukrainians and also with the Europeans, who likely expressed some pretty strong views about all of that. But the administration was listening to that, and every indication is that it's a much better document. However, there are a couple of issues yet to be resolved, and those issues will probably take some time to resolve them. One of them is likely going to be territory. But here's so our audience understands: even if and when we get to an agreement and we're able to get past the remaining issues, for Zelensky to sign it, there has to be some pretty robust security guarantees to deter Russia from attacking again. I can't imagine him signing it without it. There has to be an air component, a ground component, and also a maritime component. Likely it should be under the command and control of the United States.
It's sort of like an Article 5, but not in NATO. An Article 5 just for Ukraine, with the U.S. and partners or allies providing backup if Russia did something else. As we look at this map, they control a lot of territory, but it hasn't moved that much. And we just don't know what the deal is. Is it all the red that Russia gets to keep? There were reports that they were going to give Russia some territory that they didn't currently occupy. That apparently went by the wayside. But the security guarantee would be sort of like an Article 5 in NATO.
Yeah, but they won't use that term because the participants will not be under the umbrella of NATO. They'll be Europeans. And NATO is kept out of it, and that's the smart thing to do. But yeah, de facto, I mean, that's really what we're talking about. An adequate security force, but also what we should do is take that opportunity to build the Ukrainian military into something that is even better than what it is right now. You know, they're very good at small unit tactics, but when you get up to brigade, division, and corps, they don't have the echelonment that the United States military has. They're not a joint force. We can do that when peace breaks out, and that becomes a deterrent in itself. And then robustly arm them with the shortages they have and with additional weapons capability. All of that is critical to deter Russia from attacking. Listen, Putin hasn't given up on his goals here, Brett. I mean, he wants to take Ukraine and expand into Eastern Europe. And his objective by protracting the war and putting off any concessions and stalling at the negotiations is just that. He wants to wear us down in the United States, wear the Europeans down, and break the will of the Ukrainian people horribly by killing them and put pressure on Zelensky. That's been his objective. So if we can get him here to cease fire and go to a peace agreement, he hasn't given up on taking Ukraine, regardless of what he signs. And that's why the security guarantees is so critical to preventing that from happening. It is a deterrence.
I have just a few seconds here, General, but as we look at this map of U.S. military assets in the Caribbean region, it is really quite something how much firepower the U.S. has down there. Secretary of War Hegseth calls it Operation Southern Spear. The mission defends our homeland, removes narco-terrorists from our hemisphere, secures our homeland from the drugs that are killing our people. The Western Hemisphere is America's neighborhood, and we will protect it. But do you sense that this ultimately is about pressuring Maduro to take a golden parachute and get out of Venezuela?
Yeah, no doubt about it. This is a demonstration of huge military power to force him and also the elites around him that are propping him up to come to the conclusion, hey, supporting Maduro is no longer worth it given all the problems he's bringing down on us. We're going to have to get him to move out or voluntarily move out himself. They may take it a step further with a couple of kinetic strikes to convince them. But I applaud the whole strategic thought that's going on here. I mean, people have been wringing their hands in administrations for years about the drugs coming out and fentanyl out of this region. Multiple countries involved in drug trafficking. Most of the fentanyl comes out of Mexico. China feeds that as well. So we've gone after China in negotiations. They're supposed to stop it. They said that in the previous Trump administration, and they reneged on the deal. We got to see if that happens. But then squeezing these governments, it really has to be done. And what makes Maduro so special, Brett, is that he and the narcotic traffickers are one and the same. And that's very different than the other governments where the cartels have an advantage and they're bribing people and doing other things. But Maduro is directly connected to it. And that's why he's become target one here. And they'll go after other countries as a result of this. If and when, and I think they're going to be successful here in shutting this down to a large degree and pushing Maduro to do it, one way or the other.
We'll see it. Yeah, we will follow it all. General, thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, same to you and your team there. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.